They ask you deep and probing questions to help you to arrive at the answer, because everything that you need, you already have. The answers already exist within you. God is so brilliant, and he made our bodies literally like computers, right? You know how a computer has a CPU or an operating system if you operate on Macs? Well, your body is an operating system. You're listening to the Move to Millions podcast with Dr. Darnyelle Jervey Harmon, the place to be for high-level conversations about all things millions. Your mission, mindset, methodologies, mandate, movement, messaging, marketing, metrics, and most definitely your money. I am your host, spiritual business growth coach, Dr. Darnyelle J. Harmon. Join me each week for inspiring stories, powerful interviews, and business growth strategy to help you experience abundance in your life because of your business. If you're ready to move to your next level everything, let's get this party started. This episode is powered by Move to Millions Live, happening at May 24th through the 26th in the Washington, D.C. area. You know what? Before we even jump into today's episode, there's two things I'm trying to figure out. Number one, why haven't you bought your ticket yet? And number two, why haven't you gone to leave us a rating and review? You come back to this podcast every single week. Y'all know I'm giving you the best that I got. Why haven't you left me a ratings and review? When you take the time to rate and review this podcast, you know what you do? You help more people find out about it. The way the algorithms and all the things work to expand our reach without compromising our positioning and our message is you letting other people know how much you love it around here. So if you would do me a quick favor, take the 5 seconds it'll take following listening to this episode, go to Apple Podcasts, rate, and leave us a review. I'm just going to say thank you in advance because I know that you love coming. Now, if you happen to be brand new around here, welcome. I'm so excited that you are here. Welcome. This is going to be your new favorite place to come back every single week. I'm so excited that you've decided to join us on this Move to Millions movement. Now, we are on a mission, and that mission is quite simply to normalize wealth, legacy, and abundance. And no, I am not just talking about money. I am talking about deepening your impact by showing up fully in the world. I'm talking about seeing yourself the way that God has always seen you. And I'm talking about taking your business to the next level where millions become your floor instead of your ceiling. Around here, we believe that millions are your birthright. We believe you don't have to choose, that you can love God and make millions. And that is why we created the Move to Millions method, which is our proven framework for getting six-figure entrepreneurs to the $1 million mark faster, sustainably, without having to hustle and grind. And I want to gift you our Move to Millions method. If you go to movetomillionsmethod.com, you can download that today. In today's episode, we are going to talk all about expansion. I don't even remember the very first time I heard this Oliver Wendell Holmes quote, and I might not be quoting it exactly the way he said it, but this is the interpretation that I got from the quote. When a mind has been expanded, it cannot return to the same place. Can we just stop and think about that for a second? When your mind has been expanded, it cannot return to the place that it used to be. And here's what I know. I know that exposure is what creates expansion. And so in today's episode, I'm going to break down for you 5 things you need to be exposed to so that you can expand. It's the top of the year. It's the perfect time for you to be having a conversation about capacity and recognizing who you are, and more importantly, who you are supposed to be in 2023. I'm not sure what your word for the year was, but my word is deeper. And I'm all about going down instead of coming up in order to get to my next level. And in order for me to go deeper, I've got to make some poignant, powerful shifts. And one of those shifts is in the realm of expansion. So since we started this 4th season of the podcast, I've presented you with an episode called Deeper, which is my word for the year. And then our second episode, we talked about being sought after, what that looks like and what that feels like. This past episode was called Focus. And today we're talking about expansion, because I know that if you go deeper, you will become sought after. And in order to become sought after, you have to focus. And once you start focusing, you expand what is available to and for you. I'm so excited that you are here with me today. I'm so excited about the future of your business. This past week, I had the opportunity to attend the second annual Bow Collective conference. I recently was inducted into the Bow Collective. Now, the Bow is an organization for Black women who are operating businesses at and beyond the $1 million mark. Can we talk about expansion for just a second in there? And at the time of recording this episode, it is the beginning of Black History Month. I literally was part and have been a part of Black history. And this past week, sitting around the table with women business owners that look just like me, that are running businesses, that are making what I make, and so much more. I was in the room, y'all, with two sisters who have a joint venture for government contracts, and they got an award that will pay them $1 billion, would it be, dollars in the next 10 years. See, once you have been exposed to rooms like that, it expands what's possible for you. I came out of this conference so elevated, y'all. I really started to imagine and envision different possibilities and realities for my business and for my life because of the company that I was keeping. And that is what I want to talk to you all about today. I'm just like, I'm on the edge of my seat. I can't get the words to come out of my mouth right at the right time in the right way, because I'm just so stinking excited about what's possible for you when you are exposed to different things that expand the capacity from what it is that you take in. Being at the Bow this last week, it was up leveling in every way. I'm really excited and looking forward to doing some amazing work inside of this organization. We have 3 focal points that we have and that we're focusing on helping each other with, which is, again, just a phenomenal experience to be exposed to something like that. And I want you to just for a moment, I want you to think about, what have you been exposed to, and how is where you've been exposed impacting the way that you show up? Is what you've been exposed to actually creating an environment for you to expand your reach without compromising anything that's important to you, to expand the way you show up so that you more fully embody who you were created to be and who you're supposed to be in this season on the planet? Because where you've been exposed, all of that is going to be called into question when you do. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back from the break, we're going to jump into those 5 areas, the 5 things that you need to be exposed to. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. Tired of attending events that don't do anything but waste your time? Hi, I'm Dr. Darnyelle Jervey Harmon, the host and creator of Move to Millions Live. Our 2023 theme is sought after. Can you imagine how your life would change if you and your business became sought after? This is the must-attend event for $1 million CEOs and $1 million CEOs in the making. If you are ready to plan, prepare, and position your company for more, then I've got a ticket with your name on it. Go now to movetomillionsevent.com. Welcome back. You're listening to the Move to Millions podcast. And just before the break, I was pontificating on expansion and how you just have this amazing opportunity to be expanded in so many ways. And that expansion is what's going to really create access to your next level. So I promised you before we went to break that when we came back, we would start talking about the 5 things or the 5 places, I don't even know what to call it, where you need to be exposed, like the things you need to be exposed to in order to make the move to millions so that $1 million business becomes your floor and not your ceiling. See, some of you you're really playing small and you're thinking small because you think that the end all be all is having $1 million business. Let me just be the first to tell you, as a woman who has one, no, it's not enough. It might be more than what you're used to if you've been hovering in that six figure, especially that low six figure range, but it's not enough. Like it's the point at which you finally get a seat to the table when you have $1 million company, but $1 million is not enough to live the way you want to live, pay yourself the way you want to pay, have an amazing team that you also pay well, and to be able to have a philanthropic interest, right? If you're anything like me and you have a desire to be able to give back to other people, it's going to take more than 1 million. That's just the starting point, right? Starting point, not stopping point. All right. So areas where you need to be exposed in order to expand, right? Because exposure creates expansion. Number one, you need to be exposed to true teachings about spiritualities, the spiritual principles that are in the Bible, what God really says about wealth and abundance, and what he really desires for you. Now, what I'm not going to do is take us on this long and drawn out tangent, but here's what I will say. Religion, in a lot of ways, especially if you happen to be a person who looks like me, we were stripped from our homeland and brought here, and we were given things that were permissible to create an environment where it was okay to enslave us, where owning people as property was actually okay. And so while all we had in a lot of ways was our faith during that time, what we were exposed to and what we were taught was actually not what God really says about us and desires for us. And the way that it was interpreted was not interpreted in the way that it was truly meant from God. Like one of my favorite scriptures is in Proverbs 10:22. The scripture says, the blessings of the Lord make man rich and add no sorrow to it, right? Other versions of the Bible say the Lord maketh man rich and adds no sorrow to it. Like, access to wealth and abundance, it's our birthright. It's what God willed for us from the beginning, right? If we go back to the Old Testament and we look at some of the stories we tell all the time in the Bible's stories that we read as we were growing up in Bible study and all of those things, and we look at those people experience wealth untold. And it wasn't even just about the money, right? Because at that particular point in time, first it was land and it was cattle or animals. That was a symbol of wealth. And what I always try to point out to people and what you need to be exposed to is the reality that 2,300 times in the Bible, God talks about money, wealth, and possessions. I think he talks about it so much because it needs to be normalized for you. And I believe that once the access, so the thought of experiencing abundance is a normal construct for you, it will cease to be the thing you have to strive for. It'll actually be something that just comes into your life experience. And so 2,300 times more than God talked about heaven or hell, he talks about money, wealth, and possessions in the Bible. Right. My favorite story, and you might have heard me share this before, my favorite story in the Bible as it pertains to money is the parable of the talents. I talk about this in my forthcoming book, Move to Millions. Right. We all know the story. Servants are being charged by their master who's going on a trip to steward his wealth while he's gone. These talents, which is another way to say money. He gives 1 5, I think he gives 1 2, and he gives 1 1. The one who gets 5 and the one who gets 2, they double their money. The master then says, well done, thy good and faithful servant. Thou hast become a master over this thing, so I will make you a lord over many. The third servant, who was operating in fear and lack, like so many of us are when we're faced with an opportunity to go to our next level. Remember, fear is an indication that your next level is present. It's something you're supposed to lean into and walk through and not back away from. But the third servant, in fear, because he feared his master, said, I buried your talent because I didn't want to lose it. That servant he is ostracized. Well, first he's cussed out, all the way out in biblical speak. He is then banished from the kingdom because he buried the money. Why did God even create this parable for us to be told? Because money, wealth, and possessions are a lesser thing. And until you learn how to master the lesser things, God cannot give you what he really wants to give you. So in order for you to expand and experience expansion, you have to be exposed to what God really says about you, about your birthright, and about abundance. The second thing that you need to be exposed to, which is slightly different, I'm going to go a little bit deeper, is you need to be exposed to real wealth. I'm not talking about the people who are playing rich and robbing Peter to pay Paul and got on Hermes and Gucci and Louis Vuitton, but are struggling to pay their bills. I'm not talking about the people who are house poor. Like they've got an amazing house, but it's not filled with things because they spent all they had to have it. I'm talking about really wealthy people. If you've ever had the opportunity to spend time around people who really have wealth, like it's normalized for them, it's normal, the way they think, the way they move, what they value, what they put up with, what they won't put up with, everything changes. See, money is only a big deal when you don't have a lot of it. It's part of the reason why I talk about money so much, because we have to normalize it, right? And having access to money isn't the same as having wealth, and two entirely different things, but there are things you can do with money that creates wealth. And so that's why spending time and watching people and being exposed to real wealth will change things for you. Right. I remember years ago, I had met, the person is mega famous. I won't say any names, but I met a person. We struck up a conversation in a very weird way, and it established an amazing friendship. I was going to be out in LA. And so I reached out to this friend. This was years ago, y'all. This was like in the bankrupt era of Darnyelle Antoinette. Okay. Like barely any money, even to get to California at that time. I was literally on my last. If you had moments like this, yeah, well, that was me. And so this friend said, well, the next time you're out here, make sure you look me up. I was going, I looked them up. Like, can we go out? You know, can we connect? Can we have dinner? Oh yeah, I'll take you to my favorite spot. Now, this person is so wealthy, it's really not even funny. Like yeah. And this again was years ago when being wealthy was the furthest possibility. Like I had just filed bankruptcy. I was trying not to live in my car. So the thought about having money in excess was so foreign to me. It was like someone standing right next to me and speaking Mandarin. Like there was just no way that this was going to be my reality anytime soon, as I thought at that particular point in time. And so we met up, got out to LA. We met up and we met at this restaurant, fancy, big name place, never heard of. And we walk in and, you know, the person is a regular. So they're like, oh, we're taking you to your regular table. You know, you've seen this in the movies. I was literally living this in real life. And we get in the restaurant, get the menus to start ordering, and there are no prices on the menu, y'all. Now, when I tell you I spent my last to get out there, I was having one of those, I'll just have a salad kind of moments, because I'm like, I have no idea how much this stuff costs. It's like going to Bergdorf's, right? They don't have prices and you don't walk up to the register and say, hey, how much is this? Like you don't belong there if you have to ask the price. Being with that particular person who took care of the check, by the way, and told me to get whatever I would like, thank God for wealthy friends, people who force you to come up, who make you rise up, who will you to step into the next and best version of yourself. The best thing I remember, not the restaurant with the no prices and them paying for dinner, wasn't even for me the highlight of the trip. The highlight of the trip was listening to them take a conversation, a phone call at the time from their money manager. They had a money manager, y'all. I was my money manager and they had a money manager. And listening to them talk through, and granted, I was really only hearing one side of the conversation. That was before people were just rude and had their phones on speaker. But I'm just hearing one side of the conversation, and I'm listening to the way that she was interacting with her money manager about a deal that they were in the process of making. It elevated me so much. Like it was truly a defining moment for me. So that's the second thing you need to be exposed to, is real wealth, not people who are playing rich, but people who are really wealthy. The third thing you need to be exposed to is financial management. I alluded to it in that last story, right? Having a money manager, you need someone who can help you to manage your money. This would most look like having a certified financial planner. This would look like having a certified public accountant for your business. This would look like having a tax strategist or a tax attorney as a part of your financial management team. This would absolutely look like having a bookkeeper. Now, depending upon the CPA firm you work with, they may have all of this in place inside of one firm, but with the exception of a certified financial planner. But literally having people who understand money, who understand taxes, understand how things work, working on your behalf to lengthen your money, right? Like I said many times this past weekend when I was at the Bold Collective conference, my goal for having wealth is that my money be long and that there is enough for my children's children that don't even exist yet, right? And so having a financial management team and having people help me to steward over my resource is important to me. I'm going to go back to number 2 for a second, because one of the important things, and it's kind of go hand in hand, about being exposed to real wealth is that you learn that wealthy people don't trade time for money, and they don't make money from what they do. Their money works for them. That's why being exposed to real wealth is important. The fourth thing you need to be exposed to if you desire to get your business to the $1 million mark is consistent business growth. You have to figure out the strategy that works for you and ride it. And that's what we talked about in our last episode, right? Focus, following one course until success is resolved. Because consistent business growth will expand the capacity of what's possible for you. And consistent business growth will help you to be able to position yourself accordingly. And then the last thing you need to be exposed to is higher end communities and rooms. You need to go to some places where you aren't the smartest person or getting the highest results. You need to go to some places where it makes you feel and question, even though you should never question, but you question if you belong there because of the caliber of the people in the room. Jim Rohn says that we become like the 5 people with whom we spend the majority of our time. And so if you're not spending time with wealthy people who have businesses that are consistently growing, and their pricing and how they look at everything is just completely different than what you were raised to believe, and they make you uncomfortable because they're constantly challenging your beliefs and paradigms, that is a part of the reason why you're not experiencing expansion. Because what you're exposed to will determine the rate at which you expand. We're going to take another quick break. And when we come back from the break, I'm going to share with you how to navigate exposure that creates expansion. Because I want you to know what to do once you go and find people who can support you in these ways. We will be right back. Have you ever questioned how some entrepreneurs scale quickly from 6 to 7 figures or more, and why you're not experiencing the same? It's because they understand the life-changing formula, the mindset, alignment, and methodology that is needed to grow, scale, and profit massively. It's about having access to the right framework that works specifically for you and your business. And it's not about hustling and grinding. It's about taking consistent action on the right strategies with the right success to fast-track your growth while you save time and money. Spend 3 days with me at Move to Millions Live 2023, happening May 24th through the 26th in the Washington, D.C. area. Our 2023 theme is sought after. When you spend these 3 days with me, you'll learn proven strategies step by step so that you're ready to make, move, and leave millions. Grab your ticket today at movetomillionsevent.com. You're listening to the Move to Millions podcast, and today we are talking about expansion. Are you expanded? Have I not broken your brain already? Well, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put your brain back together a little bit for you, because we now know at least 5 areas you need to experience and be exposed to in order to set your $1 million milestone as the floor and not the ceiling of your business pursuits, right? You need to make sure that you are exposed to the truth about spirituality and abundance. You need to be exposed to real wealth. You need to be exposed to financial management. You need to be exposed to consistent business growth, and you need to be exposed to higher end communities and rooms. Let me just, before I tell you how to navigate once you get this exposure, Let me talk about the high-end communities and rooms. Be willing to invest a premium to get into spaces where everyone cannot. Let me repeat that. Be willing to invest a premium to get into spaces everyone cannot. Because here's what I need you to know. Some checks will only be written based on the rooms that you enter and the people you forge relationships with. So when you really think about taking your business to the next level and being able to enroll people into six-figure deals, it's going to come from being exposed to higher-end communities and rooms. Now, how do we navigate? Once we've been exposed, we've gotten this exposure, it's broken our brain, we're reevaluating everything, we're feeling uncomfortable because everything that we believed and held to be true has been challenged and compromised. And now we're being forced, I've got my fingers in the air quotes, to up level and to look at our businesses from a vision point instead of a vantage point, right? What do I do now? There are three things that I think that you really need in order to navigate exposure and the expansion that a company's being exposed. Number one, you need coaching and mentorship. Now, listen, this is not just a plug for you to go and figure out how you can work with me and my team. It's not just a plug for that. It is absolutely necessary. Let me talk about the difference for a second, because you might also need some consulting. Coaching, true coaching, is the practice of unearthing what is inside you and bringing it to the surface so that you can act upon it. A true coach doesn't actually tell you what to do. They invite you to consider the feasibility and find the answers for yourself. They ask you deep and probing questions to help you to arrive at the answer, because everything that you need, you already have. The answers already exist within you. God is so brilliant, and he made our bodies literally like computers. Right? You know how a computer has a CPU or an operating system if you operate on Macs? Well, your body is an operating system. And so your body holds all the clues of what you need to go to your next level. Coaching helps you to be exposed to that because they unearth it. They pull it out of you. Mentorship, on the other hand, is having access to someone who's already walked a mile in the shoes that you are trying to put on. They've been there, done that, gotten a t-shirt, and they can save you from the pitfalls and mistakes that they made along the way. That's mentorship. Now, consulting is where people do actually tell you what to do, right? Where a problem is hypothesized and a solution is developed. That's consulting. You might need all three in order to navigate. Now, you can find a person such as us in our work. We are all three. We coach, we consult, and we mentor inside of our programs. And specifically, what you'll need to navigate and leveraging coaching, consulting, and mentorship will be getting clarity of your vision, right? When you know your why, your what has way more impact, and challenging your beliefs and paradigms so that you can live into the shift that you've been exposed to. Now, if Oliver Wendell Holmes says that once a mind has been expanded, it can't go back to the same place. How is it then people stay stuck and stagnant? It's because they haven't continued in the direction of the beliefs that have been challenged. They experienced, the kick in the gut, the knot in the stomach, the lump in the throat, and then they just swallowed real hard and went right back to what they were doing. It's not the way it's supposed to work, but the only way to get through is to actually have someone supporting you. So if you're being exposed, you're not going to be expanded unless you have that other part of the equation. The next thing you're going to need in order to navigate this exposure to lead to the expansion is you're going to need community. Maslow's hierarchy of needs says that our greatest need as human beings is to know that there is a place where we belong. You're going to need to be around like-minded people who are on the same exact journey as you, doing exactly what it is that you endeavor to do. Community is going to keep you in the experience of experiencing the exposed reality and expanding into who you were actually created to be. Because that's what I know about exposure. Being exposed is really just an opportunity to step into what was already determined, right? The Bible says in Jeremiah 1:5, before you were formed in your mother's womb, God knew you. That knowing you was him filtering through and designing exactly who you were supposed to expand into. And some of us haven't been able to fully expand because we haven't been fully exposed. And that's why community is going to be essential to navigating this new exposure. And then the last thing you're going to need in order to navigate the exposure is consistency. You're going to have to continue to push the envelope on your shift so that you don't resort and reflect back to playing small. Consistency. What does that look like? It looks like setting a rubric for yourself, creating a routine, a habit, right? You can do something for 21 days in a row, and then it becomes an actual formed habit. Deciding that you're going to start each day with intention, deciding that you're going to end each day with intention, deciding that you refuse to look back, you're only looking ahead. And even when you are experiencing challenges or questioning or turbulence on the journey, you are going to stay put, right? I think about the scripture, 1 Corinthians 15:58. The scripture says, be ye steadfast, unmovable, always abounding, for as much as you know that your labor is not in vain. See, when you experience consistency, it really will change everything for you. I know that if you get a mentor, get some coaching and some consulting, get in the right community and decide to show up consistently for yourself. I want you to let's pull on that word decide for a moment. I even love the Emerson quote. Emerson says, once you decide, all of the universe rearranges itself to give you what you decided. So once you've been exposed, it's going to create expansion, and you have to decide to lean into the expansion. I know that if you decide to lean into your expansion, millions are going to show up for you. I truly, truly believe that. In fact, it's not even what I believe, it's what I know, that millions will become your reality if, as you are exposed, you continue to live into the expansion thereof. I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Thank you for joining me for the Move to Millions podcast. The way I see it, you deserve a business that generates millions. If you're ready to get started, grab our Move to Millions Quick Start Guide and join our online community at movetomillionsgroup.com. If you enjoyed our time together, do yourself a favor, head on over to iTunes, subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. Until next time, remember, millions are your birthright, and to access them, all you have to do is move. I'll see you next time. Take care.